I was a bit mean to you earlier on.
It's fine. I can take it. Blood sugar's fine. What I would say is that in politics, and you'd probably agree, you win hearts and minds and you win votes in ballot boxes. In a capitalist world, in the private sector, you win by pounds and pence. And what's happening is, last year, for example, a quarter of all products in supermarkets were vegan. Now, veganism is becoming a bigger thing. Now, while that's important to the global emergency, it's 15% before of emissions is animal agriculture, which is more than all transport.
This is BBC One. I'm sorry, but due to technical problems, we've lost contact with the Big Questions studio in Salford. We're working as hard as possible to return to Nikki as soon as we can. Again, this is BBC One. We are very sorry for losing touch with the Big Questions and Nikki. We're working as hard as we can to get back to the studio so that we can continue to follow the discussion. This is BBC One. It seems that the stormy conditions up in Salford are causing us some problems. We are working as hard as we can against the weather to get back to Big Questions and Nikki in Salford as quickly as we can. So please do bear with us. Thank you. This is BBC One. We are still experiencing the issues with the inclement weather in Salford. It does appear that the gremlins have got the weather bug. We are working as hard as we can to get back to the Big Questions and Nikki and the team in Salford as quickly as we can. Again, I do apologise about this break in the programme. This is BBC One. We are working as hard as we can to beat the weather and get back to Salford and the big questions and Nikki as quickly as we can. Again, I do apologise about this breaking our programming, and we will try and get back to the programme and Nikki and the big questions quickly. Thank you. This is BBC One. Finally, we have managed to beat the stormy conditions and we're able to return to the Big Question studio in Salford. Thank you for bearing with us.
Altruistic, empathetic.
This is BBC One. Obviously, the weather is against us this Sunday morning. Unfortunately, we're not able to go back to Big Questions in Salford, but please do bear with us 1 second while we figure out what we're going to do this morning. Thank you. This is BBC One. We are trying the best that we can to beat the weather. We are hoping, fingers crossed, that we have managed to do it. So hopefully we're going to return to the Big Question studio in Salford and Nikki. And again, we are really sorry for the interruption to the programme.
I told you what she believed.
I'm sorry about your mum, first of all.
Well, I just said it was it was an example.
I know, but
she was an extraordinary human being. And then you hear religious people.
She was.
Religious people saying...
So I don't agree at all with what you just said. Absolutely not. And I'm happy to say that Judaism doesn't either. However, you are on the traditional spectrum.